Thank you for clicking on 6 things to know before choosing any chiropractor. Number 1, how long has the chiropractor been in business? If they're fresh out of school, they have their certification, they just opened their door, they put their shingle up, is that the person for you? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe they don't have something called experience. And that's okay. They'll get it over time, but is that who you want to go to? Rule of thumb is they want to be out of school around 8 years. After you know how long they've been out of school, number 2 is you want to know what type of techniques they do. So let's say you have knee pain and your friend says, hey, go to see the chiropractor my son does. And you call them up and all they see is pediatrics. It probably isn't the right chiropractor for you. There are about 150 techniques taught in schools and adjunctly through continuing education, and another 50 to 100 techniques that are taught outside of school. So what do they do? So you need to find out. So how long have they been out of school? What techniques they do? And number 3, do they take any history? Do they ask about your family history? Do they ask any environmental history, such as where you work? There's a difference. Let's say you have back pain and you're a plumber versus somebody who works on computers. Different way to examine that. What about your diet? Is there foods you don't like? Is there foods you won't eat? Is there foods that make you sick, bloated? Is there foods you only eat? Those are big questions to ask. And exercise. Somebody's form of exercise, maybe let's go run an hour a day, or let's go do CrossFit, versus I only need to walk a couple times a week for exercise. All those come into history. So after you know how long they've been out of school, what techniques they do, history, taking. Number 4 is, do they do any blood work? Typically that's reserved for chiropractic internists and functional medicine, not reserved only for chiropractic. But if you've had this condition for so long, somebody needs to be taking a look at blood work, if not ordering it, to make sure that you are not going in the wrong direction. So if you know how long they've been out of school, what techniques they do they take a good history, do an examination with the history, blood work, you'll need to know if they know anything about nutrition. Now before I get started, you just may say, I don't want to take any nutrition, I don't want to pop any pills. And that's fine, but 6 out of 7 Americans do. So the way that it works is that if you take a nutritional pill, it just has to make sure it doesn't hurt you. So if let's say you take a piece of an herb that might be the root and it's placed in there and it doesn't cause any harm, is it effective? Well, it may not do anything at all because the research was on the berry or let's say a leaf extract. So your chiropractor needs to know about nutrition and what to best guide you or direct you or recommend so that if you're taking something that it's effective for you. After you know how long they've been out of school, what techniques they do they do a history and examination, do they do any blood work, do they know about your nutrition? The last thing is, do they do follow-ups? What's their treatment plan? The biggest hit on chiropractors is that once you go, you never stop going. Well, once you go to a dentist, technically you never stop going, or a medical doctor, you never stop going, but you only go a few times a year, or maybe quarterly, depending on your condition. But chiropractors have a history of, let's come every week. Well, you need to have a follow-up every 6 to 12 visits. That's kind of a standard of care. So if you have knee pain, around 6 visits. Is it getting better? Is it getting worse? Where are we going? How are we going to fix that? Do you have a new condition? Have you been sick? Have you been in a hospital? Those are all questions that need to come up every 6 to 12 visits, depending on how long that is, whether it's over a month or over 6 months. I'm Dr. Trites. I formulated a clinic called Trites Clinic. Of the 66,000 chiropractors in the United States, I'm one of 400 that are considered chiropractic internists. And of those chiropractic internists, I'm one of a handful that's certified in both functional medicine and internal laboratory testing. The traditional chiropractor is a pop and crack office. That's what chiropractors are. It is what it is. So most people go there because they want pain relief. They want to get out of pain. My question to you, is that healthy? Well, if you're getting out of pain, that's a progression in health. Is it wellness? Maybe. Does it have anything to do with anti-age and longevity? In my opinion, no. So when patients come into my practice, I ask them, what moves the bones? And even kids know, muscles. So if I have a bone and a bone, we'll say there's an imaginary line between the two here, and one muscle is inhibited, this side, and the other muscle is just working. Well, the inhibited muscle isn't pulling right, and this one has more of a pull. So a bone will come out of place. So the traditional chiropractor will come and put it back in, and then it goes out, and then again, and it comes out. We don't know if this is 3 times a week. We don't know if this is 6 times a month. Who knows? And maybe you get pain relief in between, hopefully. And sometimes that nerve will finally get what's called inhibited, and this guy fires over here. And now you have, everybody's happy. But do you have to keep coming back for this? Don't know. But what about that muscle that's in between? There are 35 known factors that affect muscles. Inflammation, swelling, trauma. You could have allergies, whether that's internal, like a food allergy of some sort. And while gluten may be considered a fad, it's a reality because we have to deal with it. We have to deal with soy and dairy and corn and even rice as well. Because when I was a kid, you can go to school with all those things. Nobody had a problem. You try to take a peanut butter sandwich to a school now, it's a riot. So things have changed, and the doctors have to understand where they're at and what's going on. These muscles can also be inhibited by other things. It might be blood pressure, blood supply, blood sugar, such as a diabetic case. It might be autoimmune. You might have a virus. You might have an infection of some sort that's going on. Each one of those has to be examined and figured out where we're going. And if a joint needs to be adjusted, we have a device that goes in and checks, can this joint be evaluated? Do we have an increase in range of motion? Do we have an increase in blood supply? Do we have an increase or decrease in pain afterwards? And is it better than when you first came in? We don't actually manually adjust in our office. So we have a no prop, no crack, no excuses approach to practice. So if these factors, these 35 factors, and they're actually more in my opinion, but there are 35 factors that affect muscles that are currently studied. If they're not up to date, you will have a decrease of energy. You will have more fatigue. You will continue to have weight gain or lack of being able to lose weight no matter what you do. And ultimately, longevity, anti-aging, memory all start to decline. So as you can see, some people may have gone to a traditional chiropractor and said, chiropractic doesn't work for me. But that was because it was that approach. It wasn't our approach. It wasn't looking at the whole body. It wasn't looking at everything that we possibly can to help you along. And the next question is, it costs too much. Well, in the traditional chiropractic world, you may go 3 times a week for starters for a month, then 2 times a week, then 1 time a week, and maybe it's once or twice a month going forward. Even if it's at a cheaper cost than what it is in it per office visit to me, what about the time that you have to leave the office? You have to leave your work. You have to leave your family. You have to be in the office. You have to get your adjustment. You have to reschedule. You have to come up. You come up. You can see that not only is it a drag on your time, it's a big drag in your pocketbook. And that's why we practice chiropractic the way that we do. So what I do, number one, I've been out of school for 12 years. And before that, I worked in the laboratory system for 4 years. So I have an understanding of how the process goes. Number two, we utilize 15 different techniques that are low force, low impact, little pain to get you maximum results. Number three, we do a full history. We check it. I want to know everything that's happened in your life. Catch me up, because otherwise it's just a guess. Our thing is, if we don't ask the question, especially regarding your condition, how can we truly help you? Number four, we do laboratory testing. We do most of it through insurance, but some people are self-pay. I did work at most of the labs, so we have a self-pay cost that I think beats just about any doctor in the area. Number five, I understand nutrition. What needs to go in there? Is there any fillers in there? Is there a cross-reactant food that could be causing you a problem? Is this, let's say, a fish oil? Is it stabilized that it can work for you, or is it actually causing more inflammation and pain? And number six, we do a follow-up. When you have nutrition, we want to make sure it's working. When you have blood tests, we have to have a post-test to make sure it's working. When we do an examination, we have to have a post-examination to make sure that it's working, that we do with symptom surveys. When you come to the office, we have a history form that gets full information on your family history, what you do at work, how you eat, and what your real goal is in our office. We also look at old blood tests, but we do order new blood tests. We run most of these through insurance, but for those who have self-pay or an insurance that doesn't have a deductible that's been met, we have negotiations with most of the labs for a very discounted out-of-pocket expense. I don't think anybody in the city matches our prices on that. We also do nutrition, so we make sure that the nutrition that you're taking is proper, so I won't change your nutrition if it's working for you. If it's not, I'll give you a recommendation, and depending on the condition that you have, I may recommend a program, which is a cost-saving money, or 1 or 2 other supplements. And last, we do as a combination of your history, plus the blood test, plus the nutrition, as a pre-test and a post-test, meaning that When you come in, we want to make sure that nutrition is working for you. If you had a blood test that's out of reference range, we want to make sure that it's come into reference range in what we're doing. And that depends on the level of your condition. Do we do that at 6 visits? Do we do that at 12 visits? Maybe you have more than one condition. We might actually retest one of them at 3 visits and another one at 6 or 12 because it's a little long lasting and it takes a while to get to. Down below is a free download. It's just a basis of chiropractic and what you should be looking for. If you'd like to make an appointment, you can visit us at tritesclinic.com.